And look who's here. We have stars among us here today from the Wert Civic Theater in upcoming Bonnie and Clyde, the musical, which is going to be taking the stage here just in a week or so. Cheyenne Weber is with us, and Ashton Szabados, and Cheyenne and Ashton play. Well, I'm going to turn around here. Yeah, but, well, actually, I'm Bonnie and Clyde. I thought I had them reversed, but I don't.
It's funny because that's a whole bit in the show is that we argue about if it should be Bonnie and Clyde or Clyde and Bonnie. So I guess everybody seems to be in on that bit, apparently.
Yeah, well, got me. So, what is your experience? You got to get a musical going here. Mm-hmm. What's your experience with this? Give me some of the other experiences that you've had on stage.
First of all, it's definitely the most challenging show as far as music goes. For me personally, I've never done a show where I've been this in it this much.
You're singing a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely vocally taxing. For any singers, it's in like the belting mid range for the female voice, which for me is a tough spot because I'm not used to singing there that often because I'm more of a choral singer.
Speaking of tough, do you have to be a tough person like Bonnie probably was?
Yes, towards the end, it's also interesting because there's a lot of character development, not even just with Bonnie and Clyde, but just with like Blanche and Buck Barrow, which is Clyde's older brother, and then his wife Blanche.
Sure. But you have to remember, she's acting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't imagine it.
But yeah, there's a lot of character development, and like the show kind of starts with me being just this waitress who just wants to be a big star, and then it kind of turns into living the life of crime and being hardened by, the Great Depression and everything. So it's a challenge singing and acting wise because I'm definitely not anything like Bonnie Parker whatsoever. Besides that, I like to write poetry. That's about it.
Have we seen you on the Wert Civic Theater stage before?
I have only done there's Beauty and the Beast Jr. last fall, right after I graduated. This is Ashton's first show with Wert.
So, Ashton, you've been in other shows elsewhere, I'm guessing, huh?
I have. I've done shows at Encore Theater in Lima. Just last year, I was SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical.
How about that?
And I do the laugh for you, but I don't do that before noon. So
that's how we met. Actually, was SpongeBob the Musical.
It's too painful. I know.
Yeah.
That's a great story to tell people. Yeah. Oh, how'd you guys meet? SpongeBob the Musical.
How about that? Wait a minute. Are you a couple off stage?
Yes, we are. Yes. We've been together a little over a year now. We met.
So when
like
they say
SpongeBob,
when they say passion in the commercial, they mean passion.
It's real. That's for sure.
Yeah, we get to practice things that you don't normally get to practice on stage. So
that's very cool. Wow. Yeah, I like that. That's a selling point for that show. It really is.
Yeah, it makes it's real. It makes it feel real. It doesn't feel awkward.
Yeah. Excellent. So the experience that you have is primarily in the Lima area, then, huh?
It is. Yeah. This is my first show in Wert, and I don't really know the area that well at all, but it's been super welcoming, and everyone's been super kind. And
so, I mean, how'd you get into acting? I mean, this is, I've always thought that would be really cool, but I've always been on radio for all these years and decades, actually, but never acted in anything out of high school. Mm-hmm. And that was so long ago. I don't even know if they, it was decades ago. But the point is, I always thought it'd be cool to do, and you guys are doing it.
Yeah, I think acting is something that everybody kind of wants to do because it's kind of glamorized. Mm-hmm. Being Hollywood, being a star, everybody kind of wants to be famous and be known by people. But when you are okay with doing it on a smaller scale just for yourself, like this, for example, you can find a lot of fun and personal fulfillment, even if it's not your career choice, if it's something you do enjoy doing. I did it all through high school and in middle school, so I've been doing it for a while now. And I decided to do community theater because I didn't want to go to college for musical theater. Yeah. There was other things I wanted to pursue, but I didn't want to completely cut that out of my life because music and the arts is a big fundamental part of me as a person. So that's why I still continue to act when I get the chance or when a show piques my interest. Yeah,
and so who talked who into being in this? Considering you're a couple.
Well, funny story. So I have Wert on Facebook because I did Beauty and the Beast last summer.
Yeah.
And I had seen their announcements for like their youth programs and their adult youth theater show, but I hadn't heard anything about their adult programs or anything, and I didn't know they really did much adult programs. So I was just on Facebook one day, I open it, and the first thing I see is the ad for the auditions. And my jaw was on the floor because Ashton has been singing pretty much the most famous song from the show called When I Drive, which is in the first act of the show, since we met. And he's been saying how badly he'd love to play Clyde Barrow because it's played by Jeremy Jordan.
Yeah.
So I saw it and I was like, are we going to audition for this? And he's like, well, where is it? I said, it's in Van Wert. And he's like, well, yeah, we're going to audition.
Sure.
So he picked a day and signed us up, and the rest is history, I suppose.
Wow, well, that's terrific. Yeah, it's divine intervention.
I've always said it's crazy coincidence
Absolutely.
how it all lined up that way. It still blows my mind if I think about it too much.
So where had you previously seen it performed?
I'd heard of it, but I never really listened to it. Besides the song that he liked from the
did,
show.
okay.
And even then, neither of us were that familiar with the show. It was more just like he knew that song and maybe a bit about it. And then once we saw the auditions, we listened to the soundtrack and kind of learned the music. And we actually purchased the Pro Shot that they released like last year. And we watched that, and we've taken a lot of inspiration from the Pro Shot, and so has like the staging and the costuming. It's very similar, but there is a lot of cool liberties we've taken. It's definitely an interesting take on the show, staging wise, for sure.
Do you have to develop slight accents? Because they actually in the movie anyway that I saw, they Faye Dunaway play, she had that kind of a twang to it.
We do slight Texan accents. Some of them are more dramatized than others.
Yeah.
Ours aren't so dramatic, I don't think. It's more like the music genre is like rockabilly.
Yeah,
so,
right, sure.
Which is really cool. And the accents just kind of fit into that.
Yeah,
Perfectly.
that's an interesting take, because the rockabilly music actually brings it up a little more contemporary, because if you did that 1920 style,
yeah, and also,
Right,
you
exactly.
it wouldn't be as
you don't
interesting to a
typically
contemporary
see,
society.
you don't typically
audience.
see musicals do that kind of music either. Like rock and rockabilly, those kinds of things aren't very common in musical theater.
Yeah.
So that makes the soundtrack stand out, and it's very memorable because it's so different than what you typically
Sure.
hear, especially in this area. It's not a show you would expect, because it wasn't very popular when it came out on Broadway. It ran very shortly and has mostly been off Broadway since then. So getting to do it in a small area like this is also really cool, because it's just not a show you would expect to see around here.
Yeah. So how many songs are in it?
Oh, gosh.
I'm not sure, but it's not a show where every scene has a song in it, but pretty much every scene has a song in it. But there's a couple where it is just dialogue and talking. But it's pretty much almost as much singing as talking, I'd say. There's a lot going on.
So I won't give anything away, but I'm guessing there's a kind of a surprise ending here,
What's interesting for the
other
show,
than the one we know about.
well, what's interesting about the show is that they actually do the storytelling a little differently than you would expect.
Sure.
Because as everybody knows, obviously Bonnie and Clyde
That's
die.
right, yeah.
The show starts with that, with them dying.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is not what you'd expect storytelling.
No, but that's a good way to go.
But it's interesting to see that,
Because everybody knows it already. What are you waiting for?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
start on the stage, everybody's on stage and they do this little voiceover thing, whatever, and then it just goes right into the show. So it's a little jarring, and there's other moments like that in the show where it really changes the mood, kind of, and it leaves you hanging on it and thinking about it. And then at the very, very end of the show, we end in the same exact spot. We start the show, and the show ends right before we go on the drive that ends up killing Bonnie and Clyde. So it's an interesting, weird cut loop kind of thing they got going on.
Yeah, that sounds very well thought out. So you, being a couple off stage, though, I mean, do you have a tendency to when you get close to somebody, you got this passionate moment, you're going, how are we doing? Are we doing okay? Communicate,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it goes.
One said no, the other said yes. Did you notice that?
Well, it's pretty natural for us. I was a little worried that it would be kind of awkward because there is some romantic, more intimate scenes.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't expect to have to be in my nightgown on stage, especially after being in SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It's a big jump, I'll have to say. But honestly, it was interesting how comfortable doing it with him specifically made it not
That's
feel
what I'm
weird,
getting at, yeah.
weird and awkward.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Because when we did it the first time, I didn't feel uncomfortable being, mostly undressed or anything.
Because you don't want the audience to feel awkward.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just not even that, because you can always act. That's kind of part of the job. Is when
Right.
things are weird, whatever, you just get over it and just do it. That's
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
how part of the job. But
Yeah.
being able to do it with him is really nice because it's natural and it doesn't We don't have to like work on that. It's just there, and that takes a big weight off your shoulders having to try to seem like you're a couple.
When I first heard that this musical was coming here, I thought this is going to be tough. But I've got a whole renewed confidence in it because we have this offstage couple that are going to pull this off.
Yeah. And even his older brother, Buck, who's played by Nick Long, and Blanche, played by Hannah Davis. Even though they're not a couple, they're believable. They do a really good job of seeming like they're a couple, and they have a different relationship dynamic in the show, and they really play into it. And they're really strong as well.
Well, in acting, that word "believable" is probably the most important word that you can aspire to, because that's what you're doing. And directors, they won't yell "cut print" unless they get exactly what they want, and it has to be believable. If it's not believable, then let's do it again. If you can't pull it off, they'll rewrite it to make it believable.
Yeah.
So and you've run through this probably several times already. Is it believable to you?
Every time we do it, it feels better.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the more you do it, the better it gets, and you kind of. Once you get used to doing the lines and the blocking and the music, you can kind of start putting your character into what you're actually doing.
Because that has to become automatic in order for you to concentrate on the character.
Yeah, instead of being robotic and just doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, you're kind of becoming that character, and it's becoming like you as a person, like you're living that life, and you get to start putting in the little character flares, the inflections in the way you say something, or your movement and the motivations behind why you're doing that. And even though the audience doesn't know why you're moving from this side to the other or doing this or that, it makes it believable because people move and do different things, say things different ways. So thinking about that,
staccato. Who's directing?
Jerry Zimmerman.
Oh,
who's
excellent.
done stuff at Van Wert for a long time. It's his first time, obviously, working with him and mine as well. But he's great to work with.
Yeah, the first-time not first-time directors, but first time you're working with somebody who's a director. A lot of times they don't really have any qualms about saying, "Yeah, that was terrible. Let's do it again."
That is true, Jerry. He does not have a problem saying that.
Yeah.
But what's been nice about him is he's super relaxed.
Yeah.
And in a way that I've never worked with before, he kind of just lets you do your thing.
Sure.
And, gives you pointers.
See what you got.
Gives you pointers where it's really important. Like, hey, this is really what I want to see here. But other than that, he hasn't really given us much direction as far as like what to do character-wise, which is also a challenge because you tell me what to do and I'll do it.
But it's nice because he has confidence in you.
Which, that's definitely part of it. It's just interesting how laid back and non-directional he is being the director, but it's been fun to work with because then you get to do a lot more with it. And even with the costuming, you super relaxed about that. My grandma actually sewed my dresses and my costumes. Yeah. She did that for some of my other shows too. So he was super relaxed about the design process for that, and he kind of let me.
How much foam did you have to wear in the SpongeBob show? I mean, was that foamy?
So actually, we just dressed in like the color schemes of their characters, not like actual outfits like that.
It's meant to be like people, not
you were underwear.
Not meant to be a sponge or a crab.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what.
I did wear boxing gloves, but
as I said, I'm really excited about this. I especially after meeting you, Bonnie and Clyde in the personage here of Cheyenne Weber and Ashton Szabados. It's going to be a great show. It really is, and I know you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And if you're having fun up on stage, the audience is having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way it works. It flows in that direction.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations. And I guess I said, I asked Terry Place. I said, is it still customary to say break a leg? And she said, oh, absolutely. I won't say it again, but you just heard it. Okay, so
yeah, we don't want to jinx it.
That's right. We do not want to jinx it. I know you're going to do terrific. Thanks so much for being here today. I always appreciate coming. It's always fun talking about show business as well. I love show business.
I would like to say before we go, because it's customary, I had to write it down.
Okay.
The shows are September 18th through 21st and 25th through 28th, with the Thursday through Saturday shows being at 7:30 p.m. and the Sunday matinees being at 2 p.m. You can buy your tickets for about $16 at www.vwct.org, or you can call 419-238-9689.
So when you get done,
to see everybody there.
When you get done with this, we're going to sign you up to be a radio announcer.
Oh, yeah?
Too, so
I was just telling him the other day that we should be radio hosts because all we do is talk. Well, all I do is talk, as you can see clearly.
I'm actually talking with Terry about podcasts, and you'd be excellent host for podcasts. You know how it works, and you'd pull that off very well. Thanks for being here. So, Mitch Price, thank you, sir. Also, His Honor, the Mayor of the City of Van Wert, Ohio, Ken Markward, and Van Wert County Commissioner Stan Owens. Thank you, gentlemen. Chris Roberts saying we'll catch you next week on the show. Have a great week.